Some of y'all remember the first time you heard "I'm Coming Out" in 1980. That pulsing bass line, Diana's confident voice declaring liberation and self-expression. The song that became something bigger than anyone could have predicted. What started as an upbeat disco celebration of Diana leaving Motown transformed into an anthem for the LGBTQ+ community, becoming a rallying cry for people declaring their authentic selves to a world that often rejected them. This wasn't what Diana or Nile Rodgers intended when they created the song. But sometimes the most powerful cultural moments happen when art transcends its original purpose. Do you remember "I'm Coming Out" filling dance clubs in 1980? The song that made you want to move, that made you feel powerful and free. The production by Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards of Chic was immaculate. That signature Chic guitar work, the infectious groove that was impossible to resist. The arrangement that built and built until the song felt like pure celebration. Diana's vocal was confident and joyful, delivering lyrics about stepping into the light and showing the world who you really are, with a conviction that made listeners believe she meant every word. The timing of "I'm Coming Out" for Diana was perfect for her career narrative. She was leaving Motown after 20 years, stepping away from Berry Gordy's control, asserting independence and starting a fresh chapter with a new label and new creative partners. The song's message about emerging from shadows and declaring yourself matched Diana's professional journey. Her decision to leave a comfortable but constraining situation for an uncertain but liberating future. For Diana's fans who'd followed her career, "I'm Coming Out" felt like a personal declaration. Diana telling the world she was free. Nile Rodgers has told a story about writing "I'm Coming Out" after seeing drag queens dressed as Diana at a New York club. He was fascinated by how Diana had become an icon in the gay community, how these performers celebrated her glamour and strength, how Diana represented freedom and fabulous self-expression to people society marginalized. Now wanted to capture that energy, to create a song that honored Diana's status as a gay icon, while ostensibly being about her leaving Motown. The double meaning was built in from the start, though how powerfully the song would resonate with LGBTQ+ people perhaps surprised even now. Some of y'all remember understanding immediately that "I'm Coming Out" meant something different to different people. For straight audiences, it was Diana's declaration of professional independence, a woman asserting herself and stepping into her power. For LGBTQ+ listeners, especially those navigating a closeted existence in 1980, when being openly gay carried enormous risks, the song became something more urgent and personal, a soundtrack for the terrifying and liberating experience of revealing your true self to family and community who might reject you. The phrase "coming out" already had a specific meaning in LGBTQ+ communities by 1980, referring to the process of acknowledging and declaring your sexual orientation or gender identity, stepping out of the closet into visible, authentic existence. When Diana sang "I'm Coming Out," I want the world to know, got to let it show. Those words carried weight and courage that went beyond professional independence. For someone preparing to come out to parents or friends or co-workers, Diana's confident declaration provided strength, a reminder that living authentically was worth the risk. The 1980 context matters enormously. The gay liberation movement had gained momentum through the 1970s. Stonewall in 1969 had sparked organizing and visibility, but being openly gay still meant facing discrimination, violence, and rejection. The AIDS crisis was just beginning, though few people understood yet how devastating it would become. Coming out in 1980 required enormous courage. You were declaring yourself part of a stigmatized minority, risking family rejection and professional consequences, making yourself visible in a world that often punished visibility. "I'm Coming Out" became an anthem at the exact moment when more people were finding courage to live openly. The song, played at gay clubs and pride celebrations, became the soundtrack to coming out stories, provided musical accompaniment to one of life's most terrifying and essential acts. Diana singing "There's a New Me Coming Out, and I Just Had to Live" resonated with people experiencing profound personal transformation, shedding false identities imposed by a hostile world, and embracing the truth of who they really were. Diana's relationship with the LGBTQ community predated "I'm Coming Out" by decades. Gay men especially had claimed Diana as an icon since the Supremes' days, responding to her glamour, her emotional vulnerability in ballads, her strength in navigating a male-dominated industry. Diana represented an ideal of fabulous femininity, someone who created herself through style and determination, whose refusal to be anything less than spectacular felt like permission for others to be equally unapologetic about who they were. Do you remember the way gay audiences understood Diana differently than straight audiences sometimes did? They saw past the diva reputation to recognize the craft and vulnerability. They appreciated the camp elements straight audiences might miss. They celebrated Diana's excesses where others criticized. Diana's relationship with gay fans was mutual appreciation. She recognized their loyalty and love, performed at gay venues and pride events, and never distanced herself from a community that had always supported her. The drag performances Nile Rodgers witnessed weren't mockery, but tribute. Drag queens performing Diana were celebrating her, channeling her power and glamour, using Diana as a vehicle for their own self-expression. The artistry involved in becoming Diana, the wigs, the gowns, the gestures, the voice, was an act of love and transformation. When Nile captured that energy in "I'm Coming Out," he was honoring the genuine connection between Diana and the performers who saw themselves in her. We're working on a video about Diana Ross performing "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" at Central Park in 1983, the concert that became legendary, the rainstorm that couldn't stop her. Hit subscribe so you don't miss that story. The music video for "I'm Coming Out" showed multiple Dianas, different versions emerging from doorways and mirrors, a visual representation of multiplicity and liberation. The imagery of many Dianas worked perfectly with the song's themes, suggesting that coming out meant revealing multiple facets of yourself, that authentic identity was richer and more complex than the single face you showed a closeted world. For LGBTQ viewers, those multiple Dianas felt like validation, a reminder that coming out didn't mean fitting a new, narrow definition, but embracing the full complexity of who you were. Some of y'all remember "I'm Coming Out" becoming the soundtrack to personal moments of courage and fear. Young people gathering nerve to tell parents they were gay, playing the song on repeat for strength. People preparing for job interviews, wondering whether to mention same-sex partners, hearing Diana's voice saying, "I want the world to know," and deciding visibility was worth the risk. Couples holding hands in public for the first time, the song playing in their heads, providing courage to show affection despite hostile stares. The song's staying power through decades proves its resonance goes deeper than temporary popularity. "I'm Coming Out" charted in 1980, but never stopped being relevant. Each new generation discovering their identity found the song waiting for them, providing the same encouragement and celebration it offered in 1980. The song transcended its moment. It became a timeless anthem because the experience it soundtracked, declaring an authentic self to a potentially hostile world, remained constant even as contexts changed. Pride celebrations adopted "I'm Coming Out" as an unofficial anthem. the song that played at parades and parties, that represented the collective joy of visibility and community. Hearing "I'm Coming Out" at Pride meant being surrounded by people who understood, who'd also navigated the fear and courage of coming out, who celebrated authenticity together. The controversy about whether Diana intentionally created a gay anthem or whether the meaning was imposed by listeners misses the point. Meaning is what it means to people who receive it, regardless of the creator's original intentions. "I'm Coming Out" became a powerful LGBTQ+ anthem because the song spoke truth about the experience of coming out, because Diana's confident delivery provided strength people needed, because the music made courage feel possible. Whether Diana intended that specifically doesn't diminish the genuine power the song has carried for millions of people. The evolution of "I'm Coming Out" meaning reflects broader changes in LGBTQ+ visibility and acceptance over the past 4 decades. In 1980, coming out was an underground act, done quietly with close friends and family, a dangerous declaration that could cost you everything. By the 2020s, coming out remains difficult and risky for many people, but the overall context has shifted dramatically, with increased visibility, legal protections, and social acceptance creating a different landscape, even as challenges persist. "I'm Coming Out" witnessed those changes, soundtracked coming out stories across generations, connected people experiencing the same fundamental act of courage in vastly different historical moments. Someone coming out in 1980 and someone coming out today both found strength in Diana's words. Both felt validated by a song that said claiming authentic identity was worth celebrating. The continuity matters, a reminder that while contexts change, the human need to be seen and accepted remains constant. Do you remember specific moments when you heard "I'm Coming Out" and felt its full weight? Perhaps at a friend's coming out party, celebrating their courage with community gathered to support them. Maybe at a pride parade, surrounded by hundreds of thousands of people declaring visibility together. Or quietly alone, preparing for a difficult conversation, Diana's voice providing companionship and courage for a moment when you'd step out of shadows into uncertain light. The song's association with joy and celebration sometimes obscures how difficult coming out actually is for many people. "I'm Coming Out" sounds triumphant, Diana's confident delivery suggesting liberation without complications. The reality for many people is more complex and painful. Coming out brings relief and authenticity, but also loss, family rejection, shattered relationships, discrimination, and violence. The song doesn't erase those difficulties, but provides a vision of life on the other side, a reminder that despite risks and pain, living authentically is worth fighting for. Some of y'all watched younger generations embrace "I'm Coming Out" with the same intensity older LGBTQ+ people had felt decades earlier. The song's ability to remain relevant proved it wasn't just tied to a specific historical moment, but touched something universal about the human experience of revealing an authentic self. Parents who'd come out to their own parents, using Diana's song for courage, watched their children do the same thing 30 years later, the song creating an intergenerational connection and shared experience across vastly different contexts. The commercialization and mainstream acceptance of pride celebrations brought "I'm Coming Out" to wider audiences. Corporations using the song in advertisements, straight people singing along at events without perhaps fully understanding the song's history and significance. Some LGBTQ+ people felt ambivalent about the song's mainstream popularity, proud that the message of acceptance had grown, but also missing the feeling that this was particularly theirs, that I'm Coming Out belonged to a community that had claimed it when the mainstream ignored or condemned him. Diana's own statements about the song varied over years, sometimes emphasizing the professional independence angle, other times acknowledging the LGBTQ+ significance, generally maintaining a diplomatic position that allowed the song to mean what it needed to mean to different audiences. Some activists wish Diana would be more explicitly affirming, would claim the gay anthem status proudly, rather than maintaining a carefully neutral stance. Others appreciated Diana's approach, arguing the song's power came partly from allowing interpretation, rather than dictating a single meaning. The musical legacy of I'm Coming Out extends beyond its cultural significance. The production became a template for other artists. Nile Rodgers and Chic's sophisticated disco sound influencing decades of dance music. The song's structure, the way it builds anticipation and delivers cathartic release, influenced countless other anthems. Producers studying how to create empowering dance music returned again and again to I'm Coming Out as a model of how groove, melody, and message could combine to create something transcendent. Contemporary artists covering I'm Coming Out each brought their own interpretations, some emphasizing the LGBTQ+ angle explicitly, others playing with the professional independence meaning, all recognizing they were working with a song that carried weight and history beyond a typical pop hit. Each cover version reminded new audiences that this song existed, introduced Diana's classic to people who might not know her catalog, and kept the anthem alive and relevant decades after its original release. The question of what makes a song transcend its original purpose and become something larger reveals a complex relationship between art, audience, and cultural moment. I'm Coming Out succeeded as an anthem because multiple elements aligned perfectly. The lyrics' ambiguity allowing personal interpretation, the music's infectious joy making courage feel possible, Diana's delivery combining confidence and vulnerability, the timing catching a moment when more people were finding the strength to live openly. You can't manufacture that combination. It emerges through a mysterious alchemy of talent, timing, and cultural need. Do you remember the first time you realized I'm Coming Out meant something profound beyond just being a great dance song? Perhaps when a friend told you this was the song that gave them courage to come out to parents, or when you saw a documentary about the gay rights movement and heard the song's soundtrack and footage of pride marches, or when you attended Pride yourself and felt the collective power of thousands of people singing Diana's words together. Those moments revealed that some songs carry more than entertainment value. They become vessels for hope, courage, and collective identity. The broader lesson from I'm Coming Out's journey from disco hit to liberation anthem is that artists create work into a world where it takes on meanings they might not predict or control. Diana and Nile created something beautiful and powerful, but what I'm Coming Out became was a collaborative process between creators and audiences. Audiences who needed an anthem to express experiences and emotions mainstream culture often ignored or condemned. The song's significance comes from that collaboration, from a community claiming it and filling it with meaning born from their lived experiences. Some of y'all taught your own children about I'm Coming Out's significance, passing down the understanding that this wasn't just a Diana Ross song, but a piece of LGBTQ+ history and culture. You explained how the song helped people find courage during decades when being openly gay was more dangerous and isolating than it is today. You connected the song to the broader history of LGBTQ+ struggle and triumph, helping a younger generation understand that the rights and visibility they sometimes take for granted were fought for by people who found strength in songs like this one. The contemporary context, where more young people identify as LGBTQ+ than ever before, where coming out happens earlier and with more support in many communities, where representation in media has exploded, might make "I'm Coming Out" seem less urgent or necessary. But the song remains powerful because coming out is still difficult, because declaring an authentic self still requires courage, even in more accepting context, because the fundamental human need for validation and celebration of identity doesn't disappear just because acceptance grows. "I'm Coming Out" will remain relevant as long as people need courage to be themselves. What does "I'm Coming Out" mean to you? Is it the soundtrack to your own coming out story or someone you love? Does it represent a moment in history when LGBTQ+ visibility increased and a community found its collective voice? Do you remember dancing to it at clubs or pride celebrations, feeling the power of being visible and unapologetic? Have you watched the song help younger generations find courage the way it helped people decades ago? Drop your memories and reflections in the comments. Tell us what "I'm Coming Out" has meant in your life, how the song connected to your experiences of courage and authenticity, whether as an LGBTQ+ person yourself or as an ally supporting people you love. Share stories about hearing the song at pivotal moments or about teaching others its significance in history. Hit that like button if Diana's voice has given you strength, if "I'm Coming Out" represents more than just music to you, if you understand why some songs transcend entertainment to become essential expressions of human dignity and courage, and if you want to help us preserve these stories about how music shapes lives and movements, about how art becomes larger than its creators intend, about how communities claim songs and fill them with meaning born from struggle and triumph, please subscribe. These stories matter because they show how culture works, how meaning gets made collectively, how hope gets passed through generations in melody and rhythm. Subscribe so we can keep telling these truths about music's power to change lives.